crimes are fake, but the vibes are great. It's fake crime.
Wow.
I've been working on my intro songs.
What an intro.
I think I'm just going to do a different one every time because I have no idea how to make a song and put it there.
Yeah.
So that's what you're getting from me.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted a more professional thing...
You're in the wrong place, kids.
You're in the wrong place.
This is not the place to be. Yep. So we watched Smile.
We did. This is about Smile, the new 2022 horror film.
I have a lot of feelings about this.
I feel like starting off, we're going to start with the content warnings.
Yeah, and so I think... backing up just a smidgen before the content warnings, if you are a person who... This is like a level 10 horror movie. So, like, I would say if you're someone who's maybe just, like, dipping your toe into horror, do not go see this in theaters, number one. So, like, right off the bat, I think the majority of our listenership is out, which is cool. We get really sweet messages of folks telling us that, like, they're not into horror, but they like hearing us talk about it, and it's actually a long con.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to trick you into being into horror content.
That's what I did with Phoebe, and here we are.
But this one is really not for you. If you're someone who loves horror, you might fuck with this. Now, if you love horror... and you have experienced psychosis, paranoia,
or if someone close to you has experienced
those
things
and
you did, like, it was hard for you to see.
If you have ever experienced suicidal ideation or someone close to you has, if you have like generational substance abuse in your family, I would say
if you had a family member die,
just in general,
in like stressful circumstances,
just in general. Yes.
Also, if you've had anyone close to you died, like, at all recently.
Yes.
Probably.
This movie is a bummer. It is incredibly dark. I think that there's a lot of things that it does well in terms of horror, but there are quite a few things that it does that I think are dangerous to not warn people about. There's also like a flash, like a photosensitive issue. I think there should be a warning for it. I haven't seen one anywhere, but like just in like the like intro like title screen,
yes,
there's like a lot of flashing all at once that like you don't see coming. So like that's something to keep in mind.
And it is. I mean, it's one of the jump scares for sure.
Yes, yeah.
But it is.
This is also an oops all jump scares movie.
So there's a lot of jump scares.
While also managing to be a really effective psychological horror. Mm-hmm. So if either of those things you don't fuck with, you're not going to want to watch this movie. Yeah, just in general, I think we're going to start getting into, like, the more, like, actual spoilers and, like, talking about the plot. But this one is just one that I don't know, I use Does the Dog Die all the time for content warnings for our, like, stream for, like, horror games that we're playing. And I just recently learned that there are people who think it just tells you if a dog dies in the movie. And that's
how it started, I'm sure, but
that's how it started, because I think the joke is, like, there's, like, that genre of movie where, like, a dog dies, right? But it's not that. It's, like, there's a huge number of triggers that it lists out, like edemophobia, which if you don't know what that is, people who haven't noticed, you can Google it, like misophonia, like all these other things that it'll like let you know, like if there's a house fire, which there is in this, like if there's like different things that might be bothersome to you that are going to be like a little specific.
Yeah, if you're looking for all the content warnings, go to Does the Dog Die?
Yes.
I'm going to list the ones that we're definitely going to talk about in the podcast.
Yes.
Definitely, we're going to talk about suicide.
Right.
And like self-harm in general.
Yes.
Also, pet death.
Yes.
Probably the house fire.
Yes.
And then definitely like psychosis, gaslighting.
Substance abuse. Yeah. Derealization, maybe a little bit. I think the thing is that like this person who's experiencing this, like it is actually happening to them.
It is actually happening. And like while the CGI of other things in the movie is really good, from what I can tell, the smiling, I don't think they edited anyone, which I actually think is really smart.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes when you're doing like CGI things, it's super easy.
It's like too cheesy.
Yeah, it's super easy for you, the person who's watching the film, to be like, it's obviously like, this is a fake movie.
Right.
But like, because they didn't do that with the smiling, I think it makes it even more scary.
Yeah, because it's something that's like super innocuous / positive, that they're doing it just a little bit too much and it becomes really scary. But as someone who, like, I had this like intrusive thought when I had a panic attack disorder in early college, where I was afraid that at like any given moment I was gonna like have a screw pop loose and I was gonna have to like go to some facility because I just was like,
it's not funny, but
it's funny in retrospect. It's not funny in general, and it's because I just really didn't trust my brain or my body, and I think it had a lot to do with like having experienced a lot of gaslighting with an abusive relationship that I was in high school. So if any of those things are kind of like twinkling your brain or ringing true to you, you might not want to listen to this podcast right now, and you definitely don't want to see this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think I was prepared for how dark it was going to be, but we did fine.
We did Google it. I honestly want to watch it a second time.
Yeah, I don't want to watch it in a movie theater. That's the other thing, is it's incredibly, the audio design.
I think they might win awards, and if they
should.
do, everyone in this film I feel like works really
They did a
hard.
really great job.
It was terrifying.
It was probably like the scariest movie I've seen in a long time. So if you're somebody
Yeah.
who loves horror, none of those things are sounding like they're going to be a problem to you, and you want to watch something that's really going to scare you, just like out of your pants, like this is an excellent film.
I would
for
say
that.
especially if you have other horror friends.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about it at least once a day since we saw it last week.
Yeah.
Like at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just
It's-
discussing it. Like
Yeah.
I thought it was, I mean, it is really, again, it is very.
Morgan gave it a 10 out of 10.
I did.
I would
There's not really anything I would change about it, which to me means it's a 10 out of 10.
As a horror movie, I feel like it's like a 9 out of 10. As a movie, in terms of how much I like it, it gets like probably only like a 7, just because jump scares really get me. But let's get into the plot.
Okay, I'm ready. So basically, if you haven't seen the trailer, I'm gonna explain the whole thing. So basically, the premise of the film is the main character is a therapist. She has seen in an emergency type situation someone who's not normally her patient. That person,
She works at a hospital.
yeah, she works in essentially like an ER department, but of mental.
Yeah, emergency mental health is clearly what it is.
Yeah.
It's like a
She also doesn't get paid very well. They say that a couple different times.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she sees someone who she's never seen before, a young like woman. The woman is like, I keep seeing this thing everywhere, but no one else can see it. I'm the only one who can see it. And what it is like it will look like someone you know or a stranger, but it's always like creepily smiling.
or someone you've seen before. Sometimes nobody can, like usually nobody can see it, but
Yeah.
it'll look like, so especially if you know anyone who's like schizophrenic specifically, I would say, or has had like hallucinations, or if you are, do not fucking watch this movie.
No. But anyway, she's like, you see it and then like you die. And like you find out basically
She says you see something really bad happens, and it keeps on telling you that you're gonna die.
Yes.
Go ahead, though.
And then throughout the film, basically, you find out that like this entity causes someone to brutally kill themselves in front of someone else
While grinning in a way
while
that
smiling
causes
in a very,
trauma.
Yeah. And then the person who saw it now is the one with the like entity, and they'll see it
carrying it.
everywhere. And then what happens is that person will brutally kill themselves in front of someone else. So basically, it needs like that specific trauma to pass from person to person.
Yes.
That's the story of the entity. Essentially, our main character sees that girl that we were just talking about kill herself
Right.
in front of her at her work very brutally,
Right.
while smiling.
It's obviously shaken up. We find out that the cops who come to investigate it, like her like boyfriend,
One of
is
them
one of
is
the
her
her
ex-boyfriend.
ex-boyfriend. Sorry, her ex-boyfriend is a cop, and so he's kind of like, "Hey, what's going on?" And there's kind of like a weird vibe between them, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Whatever." I definitely thought they were like cousins or something. I did not. Think
Oh,
that
I
they
definitely
had,
thought
like,
that it was that they broke up.
horny energy, but and so the next like really like the most concerning thing that we see happen to her is when at first
I was about to say.
there's a lot that goes on, but she's at home alone, and
Oh, I was gonna say the man first.
the man 1st. Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot about.
So
the
she
man.
has before. I don't remember if it's before
You're
or
right.
after.
Yeah.
She sees this girl kill herself, but there's a guy who she is a regular at their ER clinic, whatever.
Right.
Named like Carl or Bill or something like that.
Yeah.
And he keeps repeating to himself, I'm gonna die. Everybody dies. Nothing matters. My life doesn't matter. My mom's gonna die. My sister's gonna die. Everyone's gonna die. Like over and over
Very
and over.
stressfully.
And like again, like if you are not
this
in
is
a good
not. If
mental
you
place,
can't
it
hear
is
Morgan
not-
say that right now,
Yeah.
don't watch this movie.
And that man deserves an Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone in this film, I think, really did a good job.
right.
But anyway, so that's he's not affected by the entity yet. That's just him.
That's
having,
him just having like a small emotional breakdown.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're dyeing our hair. We didn't say that at the beginning.
Oh, well, people on the podcast, if they're just listening, they don't know.
If you're just listening, you don't
If
know.
you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching on YouTube. We're dyeing our hair. This is for you. We're in the past a week ago.
Yeah.
For us right now in the present, we're on a cruise.
Yeah.
We're cruising.
We're cruising while you watch this.
cruising.
Anyway, so yeah, that's like one of the things that it'll come up more and more. That same guy will come up more and more.
Yeah.
Phoebe missed a very stressful thing that happened to him while they were in the bathroom.
So the first scary thing that happens is she's walking past his room
and
he is grinning, and I can't even express. It's so disconcerting. It's clearly just like you can feel that it's off, and it's they just did a really great job, and everyone's very talented in that movie, and it's just like this uncanny valley of like that smile is wrong, and like any human
you can't
being,
like place it.
No, but you can feel it in your bones. They did a really good job of like making it very. And I'm not a person who's like afraid of like demon movies anymore, but this really fucking got to me because it's not that. It's like something else. It's like we don't even know, but you would never know that it's coming to get you. I've goosebumps. But so anyway, this man starts shrieking at her
and telling her she's gonna die over and over,
screaming, "You're gonna die!" essentially over and over and over and over and over again. And so she like presses a panic button or like does something like that, yells down the hallway, and is like, "We have a code red, whatever." Yeah. And as she turns away, she turns away to like look at the people who are rushing in, she looks back at him, and he's just like asleep in his bed.
Yeah.
And they're like on top of him because she has yelled whatever. Yeah. So then she's in a conversation with her boss, and he's like, "Hey, what's your deal, girly pop?"
And he's like, "It looks like you're still here. Like you went through some trauma seeing that girl kill herself the other day. Blah blah blah."
He's like, "It makes sense. You're shook up.
Take some time to yourself." So then we get to this girl's house, and she keeps seeing the girl who killed herself like in her house, which is scary.
Yeah.
Then her fiance gets home, who is a very handsome man. I would say actually the one thing I might change is I feel like there's a couple of things that he does that I feel like weren't motivated, and like with just a couple extra lines of dialogue, I think it would have
made more sense. Yeah.
But anyway, he's like, "You're obviously under a lot of stress. I'm so sorry. Like, what can I do to help?" They have to go to this dinner with her sister, who's kind of a bitch. That's the whole thing. God. And then basically, like, I don't want to spend a whole hour doing, like, scene by scene the movie. But, like, you keep seeing the main character go further and further into, like, people think she's going crazy.
Right.
And, like, you find out more and more about how her mother died.
Right.
And her mother, like... People keep saying, and you don't find out till like the end, the real circumstances, but people keep saying like that she like killed herself, and that
her mom clearly overdosed,
and that the daughter, the main character, like found her.
Right.
So anyway, there's like a scene where a pet dies, which I don't want to like.
I think we should talk about that one because I will say, in terms of like horror content, I think they rarely do pet death well. It's usually like just for shock factor, and it's like
it's always gruesome.
And it's always gruesome, and it's not interesting. It doesn't add to the story. But her cat's name is Mustache, and she couldn't find him, and she like thought that he escaped because she had called the cops because her like, alarm went off.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Which was really that was what I was gonna say was the scary part at first because she answers the phone, and essentially they're like, "Did someone get into your house?" And she's like, "I don't think so." And then they're like, "Are you sure? Look behind you."
Yeah.
And then she's like, haha, what? And then turns around and there's nobody there, but then the phone's ringing and the phone's not in her hand.
There's a lot of stuff like that.
A lot of stuff like that.
Really
it's really good. But so anyway, this thing with the cat, she's like, "Oh shit, like I think the cat got out." Her boyfriend clearly is like, "You're shook up."
They also live like in a super nice house, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So like while I knew the cat was definitely going to be dead.
Oh, for sure.
The way that I thought it was going to happen is I thought it was going to be like she opens the door and the cat is like dismembered.
Right.
Or something.
But she is getting ready to go to
her nephew's
birthday party, and so we see her go pick out this toy train, this electric toy train that her sister said that she should get for him, and she is like packaging it up really nice.
We like watch her like wrap it.
Yeah. And so she gets to the party, and she's the only one. She's there at the party. Her boyfriend isn't there. He's like off working. Her fiance, to be clear. And we haven't seen Mustache this whole time, and this is not how I thought we were gonna find Mustache. But essentially, everyone's like opening their presents, and she's like, "Oh, like open the present from your aunt, whoever next." And she's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And so the little boy is like opening this present, and she our main character, what's her name? Emily? It's like Cotter. Rose. It is Rose. Rose turns and looks, and there's this, I think she's a pregnant woman, but she's sitting on a chair, and she's grinning at her. Like, very, very scary.
The smile.
The smile. Very scary. And she's clearly like, "Oh shit, something bad's gonna happen." And then she's like, "What's going on?" And the little boy opens up this present, and Mustache is dead inside the box. And so everybody... And
I will say, it's clearly CGI.
That's
because
true.
they're not allowed to use cats or anybody, like any animals.
I think it's like a stuffed animal, essentially, is what it is.
Oh, probably. But you don't if that kind of stuff.
It doesn't look gruesome.
It doesn't look gruesome. He's not bloody.
No.
He's just definitely dead.
He's just for sure dead. And this little boy, like you see, like
he's traumatized. The little boy did a great job.
He did a great job. But so Rose, who is a licensed therapist who clearly is like literally like, no, you guys don't understand, that wasn't me, I didn't do that,
I would never do that,
never do that. And then she goes and she grabs the cat and she's holding the cat and sobbing, and she's like, tell me you can see her. She's pointing at this woman who's smiling, who is obviously not there for the rest of the group. It's a completely empty chair, and she's like, no, you don't understand, I would never do this isn't something that I did. And then she falls backwards into this like glass table, and there's like glass shards all over, and she gets all these cuts, and she's just like shrieking. And it's like so powerful because it's like she is this person.
I do feel like, and like I could be wrong, but it really feels like they had like licensed, like people who work with people who experience psychosis.
It almost
help write this
feels
film.
Dangerous. Like
no, that's true.
Like that's what's worrisome to me is like
I think this is a great film, but I don't know if it should have necessarily been made.
No, and I think that if they were gonna make it, they should have a lot of like, hey,
they should put content warnings. I know that like we're seeing people talk about it on TikTok. If you're on horror TikTok at least, but like they should have put it actually in the film, like, hey, please leave the movie right now.
Yeah,
if you're experiencing any of these things, or if you've experienced these things in the past and they are triggering to you.
Also, I feel like a lot of horror movies are like the actions that take place in this horror movie are super scary. So like, why wouldn't they just lean into that and be like, hey, if you've ever experienced this or this, you know what I mean? Like that's like, I feel like a pretty common thing that folks do. But oh my God, it's so scary. So we eventually keep going along. There's this scene with her boyfriend that her fiance, that I really personally hate, where he's like talking, and it's after this party has happened, and so clearly everybody thinks she's losing her marbles. I also really don't like, she keeps on being like, I'm not a crazy person, and I don't think that necessarily like a therapist would say that, but I also think that like it kind of like shows how like unhinged she's becoming, because that's clearly
she has a line I think at the beginning where someone says something like crazy or something, and she's like they're not crazy, they're just like experiencing blah blah blah, and so I think that's why she keeps saying I'm not crazy, is because I think it's supposed to be showing like at the end of the day, like that is the language that people are using against her and against her clients,
and that's how frantic
that's what she's trying to like defend against, if that makes sense.
Right, like that's how, although some people have said that like it's ableist, and I think there's a fair argument to make for that,
I think
but
it
is like very specific. And so anyway, her fiance is basically like, hey, he's got a line, what is it? It's like,
he says like, what do you think's happening to you right now? As she's trying to explain the smiling thing to him,
right? And
he's like, I looked it up, like mental illness, it runs in families.
It's genetic.
Like, do you think that's what's happening to you?
What an embarrassing line.
And like, he's been a really like sweet, like they've been really cute until that moment.
Yeah, he seems like kind of boring.
Also, and like we find out later, and like maybe if you were Latina you would notice right away, but like I didn't. Our main character is, at least her mom is Latina,
right?
And so is she, unless she's adopted and they just never talked about it, but anyway,
right.
And then also her fiance is black, and I am a white person, so I couldn't write this monologue or anything, but I think he could have, like, that could have easily been an opportunity for him to say like, like,
where I'm from, we don't talk about like mental illness, or something
there
like
are
that.
other black creators who talk about like mental illness in black communities.
Is extra stigmatized,
right? And so I think it would have been really easy for them to motivate him saying that, but instead it just seems like he's a dick out of nowhere, being like, by the way, I googled what mental illness is, and it runs in families.
It seems like he's a dick, and also like he doesn't know anything about, like, I'm sorry,
and she's a therapist. Like, I just, even though he's not a therapist, I do feel like he would like.
Also, like, what 30-year-old person is like, I'm just now discovering that mental illness runs in families. Yeah. Like, that's like...
It was just a super weird moment. And like, and strange. Then because it was so weird, I thought it was going to end up being like the entity.
Right.
But it isn't. It's just a weirdly written thing for him to say with like little to no motivation.
Motivation. It seems like maybe that entity is more likely to like choose you, essentially, if you have experienced trauma in the past.
Yes.
That seems to be kind of like a theme. But so anyway, her fiance, he just kind of sucks, and so she goes back to her like cop
ex-boyfriend.
Oh, there's Carla from Scrubs is in it.
Yeah,
because she finds out the name of the guy who the patient was. The
patient who killed herself.
Yeah.
The thing that happened to her is her professor like brutally hammered himself in the head while smiling in front of her.
Right.
And so the way that she starts finding the pattern of like suicide to suicide to suicide,
it
is that. So that professor is married to Carla from Scrubs.
Yes. It is.
So Carla from Scrubs is in it for a few minutes.
It is a lot of graphic violence.
It's also a lot of like
graphic violence.
I feel like typically when someone says body horror, like you think that they mean like the scene in Black Swan where she's like taking her fingernail and like peeling her skin off.
Yeah.
And this wasn't that. No. It was like you're not really seeing anything move. It's just already done, and it's like surprising.
It's very impressive special effects.
So like when Carla, her name's not Carla, but when Carla is talking, like our main character Rose is talking to Carla, and she's like, did you see what he saw? Like, do you know what he looked like when he died?
Right.
And instead of Carla starting to describe it and then you see what he looks like, it's like one of the jump scares is like the next like millisecond is you see like his face after it has been beaten in with a hammer.
Right.
And there's a couple of scenes like that.
Right, but it's so well done.
The jump scares like aren't the same.
Hold on, but for the Carla part, like the way that she is reacting to this woman coming into her home is she's like, "Fuck you for dredging this shit up. Like I thought you were just here to like talk about like I don't even know
his
like
artwork
or something. I can't remember what it is or like a
She thought he was a reporter.
She thought she was a reporter.
Like they came to do like a story on him.
Right, and so Carla essentially being like, no, fuck you, like, my husband was an unhinged person, and you're also unhinged, and you get the fuck out of my house. Like, I do think that's how someone would react.
Yeah.
And I don't think that in horror movies they typically lean into that. I think it's usually a person being like, wait, okay. And so her ex-boyfriend, the cop, is kind of the only person who, like, is believing her and is like, okay, let's figure that shit out. Right, and so we eventually find out that her mom died, and Rose could have saved her. So, like,
Rose could have called 911. She was, like, 9 years old.
Rose walked in while her mother was overdosing, and her mother was like, please, like, call somebody, like, I'm not okay. And then Rose essentially was like, no, and like closed the door because her mom was incredibly emotionally abusive and
I think physically
had a substance abuse problem and was like very stressful.
There's also a bunch of like stressful conversations between Rose and her sister talking about like their childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Things like that. So anyway, basically like a few more things that are in similar levels of stressful keep happening, and then you keep being like, is this reality, or is this the entity, or is this a nightmare that Rose is seeing, having, whatever. I would say one of the scariest ones happened while you were in the bathroom, which is also, I think, in the trailer. But basically, our main character, Rose, has a therapist also that we see a few times throughout the film. So the therapist and the fiance have, like, kind of, like, they didn't, like, corner her, but they kind of did.
It's like intervention vibes.
And, like, in real life, I think, like, they actually thought she was, like, needed to be in, like, some sort of facility and not going.
Right, yeah.
So I don't think they're dicks for doing it.
No.
But obviously, in the context of the movie, you know that she is not imagining these things. They are happening.
Yeah.
So the therapist calls Rose, and she's like, hey, I'm really sorry about the intervention the other day. That's not how I intend to typically, like, do things. It's just that, like, your fiance felt it was best. Like, I'd really like to come over and talk about things. And Rose is like, I really don't want you to, but, like, I guess if you're going to, now's the best time. So the therapist comes over, and they're, like, talking on her couch. And then the phone rings, and she's like, 1 second. And she picks up the phone, and it's the therapist. And then the therapist sitting in front of her starts, like, smiling really creepy and is, like, chasing her not chasing, but, like, slowly, like, dripping at the mouth and, like, following her around the house. It's very creepy. I have goosebumps. But it was, like, really well done. Anyway, so, like, things like that keep happening to her. She's, like, waking up, and she's like, no, it was a dream. No, it was the thing, blah, blah, blah. And then she, in the middle of talking to her boss, saying, like, I need more time off or whatever, she's like, I have to figure out how to, like, I figured out how to fix it. And she's like, no one needs to be around me. And so I'm like, oh.
We have to back up, though, really quick. Because she found an inmate who is the only man who survived the curse, who broke the cycle, and he is in jail for having murdered someone. So she goes and talks to him and is like, I have a patient who has this going on. Can you tell me? Because she's lying. She's the one who has it going on, right? And he's basically like, you have to, that your patient has to kill somebody. It has to be brutally with a witness. It has to cause trauma. This thing thrives on trauma. Like, it has to be. And then it's her essentially being like, I don't want to kill anyone. Like, she,
and
like,
then he's like, why'd you bring it back to me? You're not giving it back to me.
Blah, he's like, get away from me. Like, he's clearly like,
he does a great job.
He's very talented. So anyway, so she's like talking to her boss, and she's like, I need to be away from everybody.
And so she drives to where her mother died. They never sold the house. She drives to where her mother died, and like, so me and Phoebe, we're like, oh, she's gonna kill herself with no one in the house.
That's not what I thought.
And then it won't have anywhere to go.
Morgan thought that was what was going to happen. I thought what was going to happen is she was going to, like, confront her trauma and, like, deal with it and, like, confront the being, because it was only going to be her there by herself, nothing else for her to interact with. That's what
because nobody knew she was going to the house.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And most people didn't even know she still had it, I think.
Right.
Like, her fiance did, and her sister.
And I think her ex-boyfriend, too, right?
Oh, that's true, because he goes there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, anyway. So, she's there, and she's, like, talking to the demon thing, and it's like showing up as her mom, and then it's showing up as like a scary version of her mom.
Yeah, she gets kind of like tall. She's like scary in CGI, but like not too much.
Yeah,
I think they did a good job with that. Done, yeah, she looks kind of like exaggerated and spooky, and it's essentially her being like, you're a piece of shit. Like, you could have saved me and, like, you didn't. And her being like, no. Like,
and her being like, this is in my mind.
Yeah, her being like, I had to do what I had to do, and, like, that was completely fair. And, like, you know what? Screw you, because, like, that's what was going to happen. So, you know, like, all I can do is protect myself, and I'm confronting my trauma right now. And you're like, yes, our therapist girly. And so she sets the house on fire, and then she gets in her car, and she leaves, and she goes to the apartment of the ex-boyfriend, and she's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, I really want to, like, open up to you. Like, we were in a relationship and I care about you so much, and, like, I'm so sorry to have to ask you this, but can I just stay here and can we be together, because, like, you're the only person who I trust right now. Like, thank you for listening to me. And I can't even remember what exactly happens.
So what happens is he is talking to her, and he's like, the ex-boyfriend is talking to her, and she's like, thank you so much. Like, and also, like, intermittently, her and the fiance have been having tiffs because he doesn't believe her. He thinks she's crazy. And she starts saying things that make you believe that, like, they've been having issues before the movie started.
Yeah. But anyway, they kind of just don't talk about it.
Right. So she's talking to the ex-boyfriend cop dude, and he's like, of course, you can absolutely stay here. I'll always be here for you. And she's like, thank you so much. And she's, like, walking towards him to, like, give him a hug or something. And he's like, I'm a part of you. I'll be part of you forever.
That's what it is.
And then he starts smiling all creepy.
Yeah.
And then she turns around, and she sees that she actually never left the house.
She's still in the house.
So that is really scary. And then basically what happens is, like, she realizes she's still in the house. She tries to set the house on fire again, but she can't.
Yeah.
And then the actual ex-boyfriend does show up at the house, and he's like, Rose, let me in.
And the
blah,
movie
blah,
starts
blah.
to be from his perspective exclusively.
Yeah.
In that moment, which I think is
on purpose.
Really impressive and well done, and a great directorial choice. But he's, like, banging on the door, and he hears her shrieking. And we hear her shriek, and then she stops shrieking. And then he opens up the door.
And she's covered in gasoline. And
she's grinning.
And she's smiling.
Yeah.
And she lights the fire, and then the film ends.
Yep.
She lights herself on fire.
And you see in, like, his eyes, they do, like, a close-up on his eyes the same way they did a close-up on her eyes when the other girl killed herself. So
the theme of the movie is you should have killed yourself sooner.
Right.
So, like, please know that is the purpose. That's, like, and
I think
what our main character should have learned.
I don't know. Like, what I want to say is, obviously, if you're here and it's been hard for you to be here, we're so proud of you for being here. No, the answer is never just go ahead and kill yourself. Like, that is, like, there are so many beautiful things in life that you have to look forward to. Like, I promise. But, like, what the fuck?
No, but that's completely why, like, again, I did think it was a good movie. I don't know if it should have been made.
I think that, like...
Or if it was, I think it should have had a way better ending. And then I think horror bitches would have complained that it's not a very horror ending. But I would have been like...
No, but...
It's better than the movie ending and you being like, that girl should have killed herself more.
No, yeah, quicker. Like that's terrible. That's terrible. And I don't know, like, I think that what it feels like is they had folks who've dealt with mental health issues be like, I'm going to make the scariest movie that's ever been made and not care about anybody else's feelings, or, like, I don't know. And I don't know if their point is not supposed to be that you, like, take that and then you apply it to a broader whatever. Maybe they're just like, oh, that's just what needs to happen in this specific situation. But if the point of the whole movie is, like, you can't possibly know when this is going to happen to you, and it's not possible to escape your trauma, and, like
literally, what were they trying to say?
Like, things that you think must not be happening actually are happening. Like, that's really, I mean, it's very scary.
It was very scary, but it was...
But, bro...
So much.
It's not cool. It's not cool. It's so not cool.
No.
And the jump scares alone elevate this movie.
The audio direction. Or audio, I don't even know what it's called.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah.
Man, woman, person does audio.
Good
job.
Audio design... incredible. I've never been so scared in a movie theater. Like, the whole time we were watching it, I literally was, like, hunched up, like, mostly, like, either watching through my fingers or watching Morgan's face. Oh my god.
It was so scary.
Yeah.
I don't know if it should have been made.
No.
I probably will buy it because it's like, I'm super curious if there's going to be, like, a director's cut. I'm just so curious why they made this movie.
Right.
And why they made the decisions they made.
I guess we should, like, do more looking into it. I also feel like it's in a very weird way. Like, so there are... I think we're always going to talk about whether or not there are people of color in the horror movie and if they died, because I think that that's relevant to the genre.
It's going to keep being relevant.
It's going to keep being relevant, that, and, like, if there was sexual assault and, like, other things like that that are kind of, like, staples for horror films. But, like, her boyfriend was black and he was just, like, a terrible character. Like, nothing interesting happened to him.
Character,
yeah.
You know? Like, at least, like, he wasn't the villain or anything.
No,
but,
like, you kind of like him at first, but, like, he's not relevant. And then her mom was, like, Latina and, like, evil, like genuinely evil.
Yeah.
And
although it's weird because her sister is like blonde hair, blue eyed.
Yeah.
So like I don't know.
I have no idea.
And I don't like it could have been they could have not thought about. I don't care.
No. Right. It just seems like a weird choice to have this evil character. This character who's like literally emotionally abusive and clearly supposed to be like a narcissist, like have like a cute little accent and like not be white. Like why wouldn't you just? I don't know. Like if your main character and her sister are white, why wouldn't we go with? You know what I mean? Like it just seemed weird, and I would much rather have her like her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend was white, and like why couldn't that character have been the person of color who's like much more empathetic and important and relatable and interesting.
The most fictional part is that he's a cop and he's all those things.
That's very true. But like, what? I don't know. I just feel like they made some weird choices with this. But it was really fucking scary.
It was really scary.
The jump scare that got me the worst is one where she's opening up a can of cat food. It's just like each jump scare was so different.
Yeah.
Like they didn't do them the same way every time. Like, you know, when you're watching Scream and you're like, oh, clearly it's about to be a jump scare. Like none of these could you predict in the slightest. Like it was all like the audio leading up to them.
There was also different. A couple that were back to back, so you really didn't expect that second one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as like scariness factor, the premise like of the entity,
right?
All of that I felt like was a 10
the fact that it is a therapist, very
the
scary.
audio direction, the actual like message they were trying to get across, I think is probably a 0 out of 10.
Yeah,
because like again, what are they trying to say? And I guess like maybe similar to like how I think there's always going to be like fluff movies, like maybe horror is the opposite of that. How there's always going to be like they're not about anything. They're just like, I don't know. I guess I'm usually of the opinion that if you're making art of any kind, it's because like you have something to say.
Yeah.
So like, what are they trying to say?
It seems like maybe they weren't trying to say anything. Maybe it's just like a super shallow, very scary movie.
Maybe.
But like, why?
Yeah.
What was your whole deal?
It was really scary though.
It was really scary.
It was really scary. Again, the actors all were amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're anyone who's ever had a panic attack or felt like the people around you didn't believe when you were experiencing something stressful, this is when you're not going to want to.
You don't want this right now.
You
may not want it ever.
Yeah. It was, I mean, again, truly impressively done. But like, what was it for?
Yeah.
The crimes of this film.
Crimes are is it gaslighting if it's true and the person who's doing the gaslighting is the one that's actually wrong?
Yeah, that's the definition of gaslighting.
I remembered now.
Tell me what you're saying.
I guess I feel like gaslighting usually is when they're doing it on purpose.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? And those people who are gaslighting they don't think that they are gaslighting.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like regardless, I guess still the crime is gaslighting because
unintentional
the person
gaslighting.
Watching it would feel gaslit.
Yes.
Secondly, I would say the other crime is that the black fiance doesn't have any like meat to his character.
He's not interesting at all. He's very handsome, and
I was very tall.
I was so excited to like him. I was like, oh, what a cute couple they are. You know what I mean? Like I was like, this will be fun. Another crime is this.
Oh, there is a very handsome. What's his name? The man who's her boss. He's famous.
Oh, I don't know his name, but he is. Google it.
I should have looked it up. My phone's too far away.
He's very famous.
He is famous. I know him from House.
Smile, IMDb.
I know him from House, but he's in a couple of different things. What's the name of the girl who plays Rose?
Let me see. Sosie Bacon?
Okay.
Is that Kevin Bacon's daughter?
What is Sosie? What kind of a name is that?
Sosie. Oh, it doesn't say. Is she in 13 Reasons Why?
No.
Yep. Yes, she was. Hey, Sosie, what are you doing, baby? Oh, now I'm just only on Sosie. She's very beautiful. Oh, Robin Weigert she's very famous.
Oh, is she?
Cal Penn.
Cal Penn is in it. He plays her boss.
Cal Penn. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. He was lovely.
He was really good. I thought he was really good at his job.
Yeah, he seemed like a good boss. He
seemed like a good boss who was like, I'm sorry, but you can't just keep...
Yeah, you can't
keep being here for 40 hours. You can't keep only taking patients with no insurance because then I can't pay my staff.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. But he also wasn't like... I think, like, similar to, I feel like Scrubs has this conversation a little bit, but obviously they would have it more, I think, if they wrote it now.
Yeah.
Where, like, I if you're gonna put someone in the medical field in a movie,
Yeah.
who is the person who's making the calls, where they're like, hey, you can't, like, we have to have people with insurance. We can't only take people with no insurance. I appreciate if you at least give them a little bit of empathy.
Yeah.
Where they're like, I'm sorry it's like this.
Yeah, have them be vaguely likable.
Which I thought was nice.
Yeah.
He also clearly cares about her mental health because he keeps being like, bro, you can't be here for 40 hours.
Right.
You have to take the week off. You just saw someone brutally kill themselves.
And the way that she literally ends up in this, like, smile situation is she's about to leave. Like,
Yes.
literally, like, she,
I
like...
forgot.
It's so fucked up. She's, like, hanging up her little coat. She's walking out the door.
She's walking out the door, and then she hears her
phone
office
rings.
phone ring. And,
And
she's
she's
already
like-
out the door, and she comes back.
Yeah, because she's a little workaholic and she wants so hard to help people. Like, Rose is, like, an incredibly relatable, kind, thoughtful character who, like, she's lovely. Like,
I think it's also nice that we see, like, a therapist who, like, says things like, you know, the reason I went into this is because, like, of my mom, and, like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe if someone could have helped her, right, then, like, and
Yeah.
I think that happens with a lot of people with their career choices, is they're like, you know, I saw someone do this when I was little and it changed my life, or, like,
Yeah.
I think it's really great to help people, or, like, you know, I love attention, whatever.
yeah, absolutely.
But
The
yeah,
other crimes. I'm trying to think.
I mean, the cat dying in front of the little boy, I do feel like
Oh my God. And it's, like, so carefully done because we see this little boy and he opens up the birthday present with the cat and he just looks absolutely horrified. And then later...
I feel like he looks nothing at first. And so you're like, okay, does he hate the train? Like, I thought
Yeah.
for a split second that we were safe and that it was going to be that this kid was really snotty because the sister is really snotty.
Yeah.
And, like, it was going to be like, great, now not only am I dealing with this weird entity,
Yeah.
also my whole family hates me. And it is
Right.
that, but it's because she gave the 6-year-old a dead cat.
a dead cat for his birthday and everybody saw it. And so she like drives up to her sister's house later essentially, and she's like in her car. She like tries to talk to the sister and she's like, hey, like, I'm really sorry, like, I have to tell you, like, this is what's going on, and like everything's so stressful.
crazy,
Like,
like-
I'm not crazy, I'm not trying to like cause. And she's essentially like, no, like, we experienced trauma as a kid and you're literally like making my son experience trauma, and that's
and,
not
like, I
cool,
won't
and
have
it's
him
not
going
okay.
through what we went through, which, like, her
No.
sister is a bitch a lot of the time, but I'm hearing that.
No,
like,
in that moment I get it. And literally
like, she's
then,
trying to protect her family, and I'm hearing that.
one of the really it's literally a jump scare that's in the trailer, but it's essentially like
my God.
she's sitting in the car. It's so scary.
It's really scary.
And her sister starts walking out, like stomping to the car as Rose is sitting in the car getting ready to leave, and her head like
it goes from here upside down.
yeah, it's like
Just to smile at her in
it's
the
like
car.
where she's standing in the car. We're like looking through the car like window, right? And so she's her like chest is all you can see, and then you see her head because she's like looped around in this way that's not possible.
It's in the trailer.
For a human body to do. If you watch the trailer, it's very scary. And so then we just see Rose shrieking in the car, and like she's like hitting her like head and like yelling, and she's like clearly, you know, she's having a breakdown as anyone would. And we see the little boy like looking out the window watching his aunt like having a breakdown.
Another reason why, if you are someone who as a child
Right,
saw
yeah.
someone really going through it mentally,
Yeah.
maybe skip this one.
Maybe skip this one, but it's like it just does such a great, like, it's showing the scariness of trauma so well. So that's the opposite of a crime. That's a good job. But
That's a good job, but why did
But
you do that?
why did you do that and then make it so the trauma is inescapable and will be the cause of ruin, no matter how hard you try, no matter how smart you are, no matter how long you went to school,
How much you
and how
learn
much
about
you
it.
care about other people and have been a kind person and are like trying to do better for yourself? Like, that's a crime. That's a terrible message.
That's a big crime.
That is, if anything, maybe the worst message I've ever gotten from any film.
Yeah.
Truthfully. Second worst would be maybe Grease. But, like, holy shit. Why? Why is it like that?
Yeah, I'm super curious if this is gonna like win any sort of awards for, especially like I said, audio direction, and then like I feel like every actor did so good.
Yeah. Do you think they'll do a sequel?
I don't know.
It feels like they might. I feel like it's doing
It feels
well.
like they could, and I would probably still go see it.
No,
but
definitely.
like,
it feels like this could be like the next The Purge. Like, that's how
It could be.
iconic I feel like this is.
It could be, especially if, like, in the second one, somebody does something on TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like...
And then it's happening to, like, a lot of people.
Yeah.
It felt very much sort of like Bird Box, but only happening to one person.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen Bird Box, we should maybe do that one next, because it's so fucking good.
Yeah, Bird Box, if you want a similar experience, but not near as scary or not near as traumatizing.
Yeah.
I would watch Bird Box.
Bird Box isn't, like, gory even. There's a couple of jump scares.
That's the whole thing, is you don't see anything.
No, but I was trying to think if you see anyone who, like, gets hurt.
I don't think so.
Or any,
You see their eyes get weird sometimes.
Yeah, I don't like when people's eyes are weird. Freaks me out a little bit.
Hey, I'll keep my eyes normal.
I also, as somebody whose, like, biggest fear in horror movies is mirrors, I just think it's so well done when you pick something that is somewhere all the time, something's going on. Literally for the next, like, 48 hours, like, Morgan is terrifying and thinks it's funny to scare me, and so she would be like making spooky smiley face at me, and I was like, you cannot fucking do that. That's not funny.
We're actually gonna write a different movie called Dead, D-E-D.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be the exact same premise as this movie, except instead of someone smiling at you, they're going like this.
Morgan's closing her eyes and sticking her little tongue out the side of her mouth
and so they'll be like, can you see it? And then in the background you see someone like this. People who know how to mod movies, please do that to this film.
I think it's oh my god, actually we have our pictures. Hold on, I'll show you. We took photos because they have a little photo thingy at the movie theater. Oh, we look good.
Those are normal ones.
Those are normal ones. That's us if we were in the movie Dead, D-E-D. And then this is our scary smiles.
Those are our creepy smiles.
Creepy little smiles.
We did a pretty good job, I think.
I think it's also cool because everybody does a creepy smile kind of differently.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was so good.
Also, if you haven't heard, somehow they did like guerrilla marketing for this.
Yeah.
Which, like, I hate capitalism, right? We all do, but I gotta give it to them. That is smart. So they had people in these bright yellow shirts that just said smile, and they were behind like Good Morning America. Yeah. They were at like sporting events.
Yeah.
And like just smiling at the camera for like the full 2 hours, which I hope they got paid really well, because I could not do creepy smile for 2 hours.
No. And that was it for the full 2 hours?
I have no idea.
I didn't.
Oh, sorry.
You're just making shit up.
Yeah, I was.
I thought it was just like a few minutes, and then they like clipped all those together and were like, "Are you fucking ready for smile?"
No, but how would you know if the phone was? I mean, if the camera was on you? If you're like at a sporting event, they have to be smiling the full 2 hours.
I don't think so.
Or maybe they like got up, smiled for like 20 minutes, and then got up and left.
Probably.
And changed their shirt.
Yeah. Anyway, it was scary. It was scary if you're looking for something scary that is very shallow, where you haven't experienced trauma. Maybe.
I would say watch it. We went and saw it during the day on purpose, so we'd have the whole day to like watch something else if we needed to.
Yeah.
Which is how I feel we should do like all horror movies in theaters.
Oh god, yeah.
Because like
theaters are much scarier.
Oh my god, but I love them.
I think it's nice if you can go, if this is something you're interested in partaking in, you can go with somebody who like both of you are emotionally prepared to leave the theater if the other person is uncomfortable.
Yeah, we had a lot check-ins during the movie.
Many, probably like 30.
Yeah.
Of us being
we're like, okay, do you
are you
leave?
good? We can leave if you need to. No, I'm okay. Okay, all right. You know, like that kind of like.
Yeah. Which
is good because you.
We won free tickets at work last year, and so true. We didn't pay to see them.
Yeah, no, we didn't. Yeah, we've been going for free with our. That's why you get 2 podcasts in a row that are new movies. Although Morgan loves the movies so much.
I love going to the movies. Everyone hates going.
And the theater, that's not true. The theater closest to us has these really nice little recliner-y seats.
I will say I'm glad we went during the day, because I was fine during Don't Worry Darling, but this movie, because it was so scary, I had to take my mask off like 4 times because I was like, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
And so we went. There was only 2 other couples, and they were far away. And then there was one super like old lady with her service dog sitting like in the front row.
She was like 1,000 years old.
I'm so happy for her.
And I was like, girly, I'm obsessed with you.
I love her. She said,
that's the bravest woman in the world.
11:40 on a Monday, I'll be going to see a scary movie.
I went to the bathroom by myself and almost was like, I can't do this while this movie's happening. Like, that's the level of
Phoebe was gone for a long. I literally ran to the bathroom because I didn't want to miss anything.
Oh, I did want to miss things. I left because I could get us popcorn too. I was very sweet.
I was very sweet, very brave.
It was scary. It was very scary. So
survived.
10 out of 10 for the scaries, 0 out of 10 for the
message?
vibe, for the message. I would say like 6 out of 10 for the plot. And all of those points are just from Dr. Rose Cotter being like, she's a great character.
She's a really good character.
She's lovely.
She's a really good character. I would not be surprised if they turned it into like a scary show like they did with The Purge.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will. I don't know how well it's doing at the box office. I know it was #1 last weekend, but that's just because it's the weekend we went.
That one I could definitely see becoming like a thing. Don't Worry, Darling, I don't think is gonna like.
No, I have more questions for Don't Worry, Darling, and I feel like
that's funny. You would think that would lead them.
No,
to
I know,
sequel.
but I don't think it does. You know what I mean? Normally, I feel like it's like you only leave with like 2 questions, and then they might turn it into something else. But
yeah,
Don't Worry, Darling.
What are your 2 questions about this one? What happens to the boy?
Yeah, I'd like to know what happens to the boy, and then I'd like to know if it's possible, like. I have questions about how it moves, I guess, because like what would happen had she successfully ended her life and no one was around?
Right. Like, would that have cut it off?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that could be a sequel. I feel like the 3rd movie could be like more people know about it because it's like an urban legend and they understand the process that it takes, and so it's like a whole bunch of people, not a whole bunch of people who are experiencing it, but a whole bunch of people who are like surveying a person who's experiencing it, and like if there's enough of them in the room, like it can't go to everybody, right? So like maybe they'll all be fine, and then like one by one those people are like dropping off for
like Final
reason.
Destination style.
Not exactly. Yeah, I feel like that could be interesting.
It's like you almost miss it, so it's like trying to get back to you.
Maybe, yeah. I feel like that could be pretty spicy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the boy's definitely gonna die. But they also said that they've seen like 2
branches of it.
Branches of
they
it.
said.
Yeah.
But they didn't answer. Yeah, so like I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like that because he said one of them was in South America.
Yeah.
And so like maybe they would do one in like South America.
Yeah.
And then I guess somehow explain how it would be in English, but
yeah. Yeah. No, most of South. I got lost. My brain got lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be fun, could be fresh.
Yeah, they could make nothing, and that would be fine too.
Yeah. I feel like maybe they should make nothing. But I will say that I don't think there's a lot of times where I leave a horror film and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that feels like something that is like gonna be like, I don't know.
Like talked about?
Yeah, what's the word? Like culturally like relevant for like a hot minute. Like this is gonna be something people will continue to talk about.
Yeah.
Did we have any other like fun and fresh updates for the class?
I don't think so.
We're
going on the cruise.
Yeah, we are cruising right now. We will be back making more content for you in like, probably
late October.
Yes. Yeah.
This.
Oh, sorry, the podcast specifically, yeah, but like on TikTok and on other things, we'll be back on like the 22nd, 21st, basically. As we've been telling y'all, we recently started partnering with small businesses, which has been really cool. So if you'd like your small business mentioned in the pod and on, the YouTube episode and then the descriptions of those things, you can shoot us an email at boevem@gmail.com. It's BHOEVEM@gmail.com. Or if you have any questions or if you just want to chat. Like that's okay too if you got some feelings. Oh, I do kind of want to do like an addendum to the Don't Worry Darling episode.
Oh, go ahead.
We had a couple of YouTube comments and I hadn't seen folks really like talk about this part of Don't Worry Darling. This is spoilers for that. So if you skip that episode because you didn't want spoilers, this is spoilers now.
Let's just end it now.
Yeah, turn us off.
Turn us off.
Get out of here. But so anyway, folks are talking about how they feel it's a sexual assault scene. Like any of the times that Harry Styles and Florence Pugh are together are railing because there's not informed consent. And while I don't think that that's untrue.
Well, I think it is sexual assault. I don't know if it's a sexual assault scene.
I think it's very relevant. I think it's weird for Olivia Wilde to be bragging about how it's like female empowerment because it's obviously not in the context of the movie once you know what's happening.
Right.
And also you look back on those scenes like horrified, like what?
Because she didn't know.
So like what's going on?
It wasn't the Harry Styles she's seeing.
Right. And that it wasn't, she's in a simulation, so that's scary. But yeah, I think what I appreciate about those scenes is that they're not filmed like sexual assault scenes.
Yeah.
And that like that is like such a thing in horror movies for no reason. They're like, what if we just punch down really hard?
Yeah.
And like this didn't feel like that because those scenes are, they're hard to watch and they're not cute and there's no reason to have them. I feel like most of the time.
And I feel like the reason they have the sex scenes in Don't Worry Darling is to lull you into a false sense of security of like things are really great for Florence Pugh.
Right.
She wakes up, she cleans a little bit, she comes a lot.
Yeah. True.
Good for her.
Good for her. What
I mean? But that's not really what's happening.
No.
We find out later.
But we as the viewer, same as Florence Pugh, are like, what a lovely life she has.
Right.
Like, that's so fun for her. So yeah, obviously, like, those scenes aren't, you know, okay.
Yeah.
But they're not traumatizing to watch as someone who's experienced sexual assault.
Right.
Which I
At
think...
least not for us. I mean, it's different for every person. But...
Absolutely. Which I think is nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts?
I think that's it.
That's all for the pod.
That's all they wrote.
We'll see you 2 weeks, the week after next week from right now.
Ba 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 da. Crime.
Ow!